Welcome to Let's Talk Autism. I'm Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson.
And I'm Shannon Penrod.
Hi.
Happy to be here with my good friend.
Happy to be here with you.
And we've got a great guest that's going to be on the show in just a little while, Jennifer Norman, an author, a mom, a really extraordinary mom. You guys have some things in common because you adopted your kids that have special needs, and so that would be really fun to hear from her, and her story is so inspirational.
Yes.
So we're looking forward to that. We have some do you want to jump right into in the news? Or you got anything you want to talk about first?
No, we can jump right into in the news.
We've got some news that's, we'll get to some happy news at the end. I always like to give you the bad news first. So let's do the worst news first.
Okay, well, the worst news was in Australia.
Yes.
There was an incident of a young man with autism, a boy with autism that was killed, and his caregiver was trying to protect him and, I guess, catch him after he fled from the car they were in.
Yeah, a pregnant woman.
Yes.
They were on their version of the highway. I don't know what they call their highways there.
The M1 motorway.
And the car, they say that they don't know why, but at a certain point she pulled the car over, and then the child escaped from the car and ran, and she ran after the child, and they were all killed by an oncoming truck. And, I said to Nancy, I save these stories to talk about when she's on the story, not out of some morbid thing, but I think it's important, especially on Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy, that we talk about this because this happens.
And we have a campaign called STOP.
Yes.
Which is to stop these kinds of deaths, stop autism death by elopement.
Yes. And, last year at this time, we were starting, because with Autism Care and Treatment Today, there are a certain number of grants. Every year we get to the end of the year and there aren't funds.
Right.
There's a pile of them. And we started a fund a grant program where the card offices raised money for different grants and to raise money for them. Well, there was one grant in particular that really struck all of us, and it was a mom on the East Coast who had a child who would constantly get out of his car seat and try to get out of the car. I mean, just exactly what's happened here. Mm-hmm. And that she had other children that were in the car, and she would have to pull over on the freeway with all the kids in the car. And she said that she didn't want to go anywhere ever again because there was so much fear in her heart. And she wrote to Act Today and said, I found a car seat that I think can solve this problem that he won't be able to get out of. And it was a Conveyed car seat. We reached out because as we're trying to figure out, you guys know, because some of you write in for grants, and believe me, we get the letters from the people who don't get their grant funded, and sometimes they're horrific. That, not you guys, but people will write in and say, what on earth are you people doing? Because how could you not have funded my grant? This is life and death, and how could you not have funded ours? And we're like, because there's a stack of them.
So many that are life and death.
So we try to connect with companies whenever we can, so that, because if a company can help us to defray the cost, give us a coupon for 10%, 20%, 50% off, then that gives more money for another grant, right? So we work the phones like dogs, trying to call companies and saying, hey, can you help me with this?
Right, so you got Conveyed to help.
So we called Conveyed, and they said, I was reading what the mom had wrote, and they said, stop, we're going to give you the car seat, which was amazing because we'd already raised some money for the car seat. So all of that money went to an iPad for a child who had no communication.
Yes.
So this is why we love Conveyed, and because they make such great products. But it really, when I think about, I have goosebumps right now thinking about how this story might have ended.
I know.
And that sometimes, people are afraid to ask or they don't know what to do, but this mom had the courage to ask, and Conveyed had the conviction to say, we're going to give this to her. And so if there's anybody that's out there that's watching this right now within the sound of our voices, that please don't let this be your story.
No.
This is so horrifying. Please don't let this be your story, and don't let it be other people's story. If you have a child that is not eloping and that's never been your issue, or you're past that, you've gotten the great services to work through it, think about doing a fundraiser or just giving $5 or $10. Really, if everyone who watched this show gave $5 or $10, what we would be able to do
the amount of car seats that we could provide and the amount of ABA
and swimming lessons to kids who drown
because they elope.
And because the thing about it is, with these issues, death by autism,
yes,
the fix, we know what the fixes are, but it's really expensive and it's comprehensive because it's not just one thing.
Right.
If
it
it's
could be a fence, it could be.
But even if the child has a fence, we don't want to just give the fence.
Right.
We want the child to have ABA, so we're dealing with the issue of why are they eloping.
Teaching them not to elope.
If the child is going towards a body of water, we want to have the fence, the ABA, and we want to give them swimming lessons so that they know how to roll onto their back and save their lives if they go in the water. And all of those things, and we need to train the people on the ground to look for the kids. We've seen that sometimes the difference of if they're trained how to look for a kid on the spectrum, they can find them before they drown. There was that case earlier this year where they found the child in the water before he drowned.
Yes.
If that had taken 5 more minutes, it's just devastating.
So there are lots of different avenues to prevent these tragedies.
But it takes a lot, and it's extensive. So if you are the one that needs the help for your child, please reach out. Please put in for a grant. We can't fund them all.
No,
but
we can't guarantee it, but go ahead and apply.
We get to as many of them as we possibly can. If you are in a position to send $5 or $10 to Autism Care and Treatment Today, please do that. And if you aren't in that position, and I know there was a period of time in which I was not in the position to do that, please on your social media share something that asks the people in your life if they have $5 to give, so that we can prevent these kinds of things from happening in our own backyard. So tragic. Also, on a different level of tragedy, I think this is something that we can all relate to. There's a story in the news right now of a dad who got so mad because his child wasn't being included in all of his friends' birthday parties and things that he sent out a text to his friends. And we can't read it verbatim.
It was laced with a lot of F-bombs.
It's colorful.
It was laced
with
F-bombs.
I don't know about you, but I'm in this dad's tribe.
Right.
Like this, and I think we can all relate to how he felt. But he said to his friends, my child doesn't have leprosy.
Right.
He has autism. And why haven't you been including him in your birthday parties? And he says, and now it's too late because he was not going to be your afterthought.
Right.
But put in a bunch of F words and explicatives in
between
all those words.
It struck a nerve on Twitter because over 2,000 people shared his message and reported similar experiences. And a lot of them invited Riley, his son, to their home.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
And we're showing a picture of Riley right there. What a cute kid.
Yeah.
And our kids have behaviors which sometimes makes it a little tougher.
Leaves them left out.
But suck it up, people. I know I have been hurt by my child not being invited, or my child being invited and being sidelined and looked as a problem and not being included. Right. That also stinks.
Yes.
We've all been there, right?
I think we've all been there as autism moms, to not have our child included in certain activities.
Yeah. And clearly, because this dad struck a nerve, because I think all of us can relate to this in some way, shape, or form. But I say good on him, and if those people aren't ashamed of themselves, they should be. Honestly.
Tell it like it is.
But ask me how I really feel.
All right, so here's some cool news.
Yes, let's go to the happier stuff.
A man on the autism spectrum, Kelvin Smith, is going to compete on Jeopardy tomorrow night.
Yes, and it's very, very exciting. Thrilling to see. I've seen just some little clips of it.
Yeah.
And there's a moment when he self-identifies, and he does it with such panache and with so much pride that it basically stops the show. So definitely tune in to see. It's pretty amazing.
He was diagnosed at the age of 10, and he has always been a fan of the show since childhood. He's spent the last 10 years trying to get on the show.
Well,
so now this is sort of a dream come true for him.
It's an absolutely wonderful thing. And I just have to say, thank you to Jeopardy, and thank you to Sony Studios where they filmed Jeopardy, because Joanne Laura's Autism Works Now candidates went there the other day, and they made such a fuss over them. And it's just like two things in one week. I was getting all of these messages about Jeopardy this week, both that they were having this contestant on and seeing pictures of the candidates from Autism Works Now standing at the podiums and taking pictures there on the set. And I just thought, Jeopardy's getting it right.
Yeah.
Jeopardy's doing it. So tune in and watch Jeopardy and see.
Seems like he's a pretty bright young man.
And of course, we don't know how he does because they won't release that information.
Right.
But look and see.
He's enrolled in a doctorate degree program for chemical and biomedical engineering at Georgia Tech. So he's clearly
and
brilliant.
wait till you see him speak, because I've seen the clip and it like stops everything. It is so eloquent. You want to look for somebody to represent. Kelvin. He does a good job. So wonderful. And then you brought us the story about the Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Which, we've covered a little bit on the show because we had Becky G on the show. She's one of the Power Rangers. And she happens to be a sibling of a wonderful gentleman who's on the spectrum.
Okay.
I think he's like 18 or 19 years old. And we did a great interview with them. If you're fans of the Power Rangers and fans of Becky G, definitely check it out. It's on our YouTube page. We did that on the red carpet of the Aut Fest because she was there representing the Power Rangers. And we talked a little bit with her then about, because the blue Power Ranger is the Power Ranger on the spectrum.
It's on the spectrum, that's right.
And we talked about on the set with Becky G what that was like and how he found out that her brother was on the spectrum, and that he met her brother and that asked some things about, is it more like this or is it more like that? And did, in amongst his research.
Right.
But
he did a lot of research. C.J. Seiler, who is the neurotypical actor who plays Billy, and he said he listened and accepted every bit of information with no judgment. He just really wanted to show what people on the spectrum are like and give an accurate portrayal.
Which is lovely. So if any of you have not seen it yet, what a great movie to rent over the Thanksgiving holiday. I know that a lot of you have seen it. In one of our sometimes the offices send people to corporate here from CARD. And of course, the show plays in their lobbies of the CARD offices. And one of the recent offices was saying that the kids their favorite interview is when we show Becky G, and that they all come running because their favorite movie is the Power Rangers. So our kids will love it. It's a great thing. But there are so many characters now in movies and things. There are. On the
it's
spectrum.
Just been booming lately.
Which does Wyatt like the Guardians of the Galaxy?
No, I don't think he's watched that.
Oh, I think he would enjoy it. I think there's the little raccoon dude. I think he would particularly like. But there's the big guy, the big blue guy that's all tatted.
Right.
That they say that he is on the spectrum, although they don't. The movie doesn't say that, but the world has decided his behavior is very similar sometimes to some people on the spectrum, and we thoroughly eat that up. We think he is the best character. There's 2 movies now, and the music is good, I have to say.
Okay, so Guardians of the Galaxy.
So there's 2 movies to rent over the holidays.
Power Rangers and Guardians of the Galaxy.
There is some very irreverent stuff in Guardians of the Galaxy, so check the age rating on it and make sure that it's appropriate for your children. But fun movie for the older kids. There's some very silly stuff in it. I think Wyatt will really love. I call him the raccoon character, but of course that ticks his character off.
Right.
So they call him a raccoon all the time, and he's like, I'm not a raccoon. So anyway. All right, so we've got a great guest who's going to be joining us, Jennifer Norman, a wonderful special needs mom with a great story.
A book series now.
Yeah.
So she's going to tell us all about
Captain Brave Man.
Right.
Stick with us.
Logan Shepard. At first glance, he looks like a typical American teenager. He plays in a band, loves hanging out with his friends, he doesn't like doing homework, and he's not really fond of broccoli. But Logan Shepard is not your typical 14-year-old. Logan was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2. He was nonverbal, made no eye contact, and his parents were told to abandon all hope. Instead, His parents began an intensive intervention treatment. At its center was a quality ABA program known as the CARD method. This is Logan Shepherd now.
All I really want to say is, like, I'm kind of copying Martin Luther King. I kind of have a dream, like, that one day, like, I can just, like, inspire people and never give up. Because, like, that's what I want to do in life. Because if I can succeed, they can succeed. And I will succeed.
To follow Logan's musical journey, visit www.facebook.com/officialdrummerrock or @drummerrock on Instagram. For more information on the CARD method, visit www.centerforautism.com or call 800-345-CARD. Rock on, Logan.
So we're gonna do down dog next. So with down dog, there are several different ways that you can do it, and I wanna show you first and then help you with yours so that we can work on what feels good for you, okay? All right, because there's no right way to do it, it's more about what your body likes, all right? So for me, what I'm gonna do is start off with my hands at the top of my mat, my headlights, my fingers are aiming towards the top of my mat, and then I'm going to tuck my toes, and then my head is also going to drop, and I'm going to look between my toes. Okay. And my body should be, or hopefully, like an A shape.
Or V.
Or V, yes.
Upside down V.
Yep. And so if your quads are tight or your hamstrings are tight, you might need to bend your knees a little bit.
Then it's you.
Or if your shoulders are a little strained or a little tight, remember to push in through your feet. But also sometimes what feels really good is going down on your forearms, like this. You can actually start out this way instead, it's a little easier. So your forearms rest on the floor. You still tuck your toes, and then you're still looking between your toes. But rather than being on your hands then, your weight's along your hands and your forearms. Okay? All right. So, now it's your turn. Okay. So, yep. You're gonna do on your hands? Okay, yep. So your fingers are facing the front of the mat. Or are you doing forearms? Forearms? Okay, there we go. Wow, you're very bendy. Very nice. And your gaze is right here between your toes. Excellent. Very nice, Jem. Wow. Awesome. Feet are a nice distance apart. How does that feel?
Okay.
Awesome. You want to come down? Excellent. Good. Good.
Being part of this community is really important to a mom with a son like Jackson, because it really does take a village, and you need so much support, you know, to help bring out all of the amazing qualities and skills and talents that our children have. So I'm just very grateful to everybody who was a part of this.
I think it helps with all sorts of that self-esteem, social skills. They seem to communicate a little bit with each other, and they had a lot of friends. The helpers were phenomenal, and I think the social skills for sure, because they worked together and they did a couple group things across the floor, and they sang songs together, and I yeah, for sure, I think it's a really huge deal. Great program.
What programs like this show is the person is in front of what we call today a disorder. I think what we're finding is that these sorts of brain challenges that make people unique can actually be gifts in ways we haven't discovered in the rest of society to bring them out. So when you see a program like this and you see the kids dancing, having fun, and making up jokes, making up the story. I was here when they did that. That was so amazing to watch because they were all focused, they were all present, and they were all laughing, they were all getting into the creation of this story. And that to me sort of broke the barrier to say, no, first we're dealing with people, and then we're dealing with the challenges.
Raising children is a challenge for all parents. It's a job that Paul and Jennifer Norman know very well. Inspired by the courage and strength their young son Kyle shows them every day, they've created a new children's book, The Adventures of Super Captain Braveman, to help other parents raise their children with an awareness of differently abled children with special needs. Once a normal, high-functioning toddler, Kyle was diagnosed with a rare genetic disorder. Kyle started experiencing dizzy spells, fatigue, and respiratory failure at the age of 2. He was taken to Children's Hospital Los Angeles, where he slipped into a 3-month-long coma. Kyle's heart stopped several times. It seemed that he wasn't going to make it. But then, a miracle happened. In January 2009, to the bafflement of his doctors, Kyle started waking up. Little by little, Kyle started to recover. He was released from the hospital in February 2009. By March, he started talking, and by May, he started eating and playing again. But the Normans learned that Kyle's fight was just beginning.
It was amazing to watch Kyle's recovery in 2009, 2010. We knew there was a chance for a setback. And each time Kyle caught a cold, his body just didn't have enough energy to fight his way through it.
Though Kyle received the very best care and fought his disease as hard as he could, over time, his condition worsened again. His body declined to the point of losing all motor control. He couldn't talk, eat by mouth, or move any part of his body. Today, Kyle has regained his ability to blink, wiggle his fingers, move his head, and even vocalize a little. Small, yet powerful victories. Along with his parents, specialized in-home nurses take care of Kyle with his medical and therapeutic needs. They bathe him, stretch him, read to him, and feed him formula and medicines through his G-tube.
I love Kyle. Kyle is my best friend, he's my little brother. He's just someone that everyone just immediately falls in love with because he has a special something. He's just a really special boy.
Kyle has a homeschool teacher that comes for instruction 3 days a week. An arsenal of doctors and specialists oversee his care. And between the feedings, the schooling, the doctor visits, and sleep, sometimes a little sightseeing makes its way onto Kyle's schedule.
So we've been fortunate enough to have Victor with us since Kyle was about 2. Along the way, Victor would make little sketches of he and Kyle playing, and the major takeaway was that he drew Kyle as an able-bodied boy, the vision that we have for Kyle in the future. Then he'd even post these pictures and hashtag Super Captain Braveman, because that was one of Kyle's nicknames. We started brainstorming, and we thought, wouldn't it be great if Super Captain Braveman was Kyle's superhero alter ego, and he, in his travels, in the stories, found a way to not only inspire other children, but to bridge a gap between kids who have a disease and kids who don't.
Even though Kyle's story is quite daunting, we wanted to make sure that The Adventures of Super Captain Braveman wasn't. We wanted to write it in a very simple and family-friendly way so that parents and educators could read this to children 3 to 8 years old, and it would be entertaining, it would be interesting, and it would leave everybody with some really good, valuable lessons. We wanted to take the mystery out of what it's like to live in a wheelchair, what a ventilator is, what a G-tube is, so that at an early age, kids would be able to learn and appreciate each other's differences and ultimately make the world a better place for all of us.
The Adventures of Super Captain Braveman, Book 1, A Day at the Park, goes on sale April 23rd, Kyle's 10th birthday. The hardcover and ebook will be available for sale by visiting supercaptainbraveman.com, Amazon, or iBooks. A portion of book proceeds will go to support the United Mitochondrial Disease Foundation.
And we have been joined, as you can see, by lots of wonderful guests in the studio. We have Jennifer Norman, mom and author here, her son Kyle. We have Victor, who is Kyle's caregiver, and Mochi, who is a rescue dog and Kyle's best friend, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. It's
Good
so
to have
nice
you
to
here.
be here. Thank you so
We're
much
thrilled
for
to
having
have
us.
all of you. And we just showed a video introducing sort of why you guys are here to talk about an amazing book series that you guys have got.
That's right.
I don't even know where to start, but because there's so much love in the room. And you know, children and dogs always take the focus. We always say that, right? So much love in the room. But let's start with the fact, and we saw some of this in the video, Kyle was a typically developing child.
That's right. That's right. Kyle was typically developing until about the age of 2. And then we started to notice some signs of lethargy, spasticity. Unfortunately, we didn't know what was happening, and it turned out that he was diagnosed with a very rare genetic disorder, which is called a mitochondrial disease. It essentially is an energy deficiency, which happens at the cellular level. So essentially, his body doesn't produce enough energy to sustain normal life. Okay. And as children are growing, as they're developing, their bodies need a lot of energy as they're going through growth spurts or to fight off any kind of cold or illness. That's when we noticed that Kyle started to debilitate. And unfortunately for him, it took out a lot of his capacity, but he's a survivor. Yeah. He made it through. He wasn't supposed to make it past 3 years old.
And he's 11 now.
And now he's 11 years old. So we think that he's our miracle boy. He inspires us every day. And he brings so many wonderful people into our lives, such as Victor. And that's what really inspired us to write this book series.
Let's talk about the book series.
Yes, talk about it. What's it called?
Yes, the book series is called The Adventures of Super Captain Braveman. And really, it's about encouraging kids to be brave, to be friends with children that are not like themselves. Right. Today, there is so much focus on diversity appreciation, whether it be gender appreciation, whether it be race appreciation, etc. But there really wasn't anything talking about disability, handicap, chronic illness. And we noticed that when Kyle would be out in the public, parents, children would have a tendency to step back and stare a lot, and it would be a little bit awkward for them to come and approach him, and with children were whispering, what's with that boy? Why does he have a tube coming out of his throat? It's hard for adults to really express to their children what's going on without feeling like they might be saying something incorrect. So that's why we wanted to create this book series, is to open a dialogue, is to start a conversation and to make it okay for people to understand what it's like to have certain disabilities or certain handicaps or certain, neurodiverse issues, and help educate children at a young age so they're asking questions and that it becomes the new normal and they can be better friends to everybody of all abilities.
So is Super Captain Braveman, he's sort of Kyle's persona?
That's right, that's right.
And he answers questions for people about this?
That's right. We do use Kyle as a conduit, and certainly, as I was mentioning, he inspires us so much, as I know that parents and people who come into contact with special needs children, special needs people, there is a blessing. There really is a sense of specialness when you're around people that do have different abilities from you. And certainly for us, Kyle's spirit is so strong. and he brings people together, and there's friendship and love. As you had mentioned earlier on, there's so much love in the room, and that's what we feel every day. And so Kyle is essentially a central character in this book. He goes to sleep at night and he becomes Super Captain Brave Man, which is kind of his alter ego.
And we're seeing some pictures up on the screen as well.
Yes, and so it's nice for children who may have a disability to see that, yes, there is a superhero who actually is in a wheelchair or who might have a ventilator or use a G-tube to eat. And he becomes, this amazing character, and they relate so well to him and they feel so inspired by him as this young boy who's a superhero character. And yes, he essentially is reaching out, showcasing appreciation and friendship to other children and showing other kids in the book how they can be friends with those children.
It's amazing. And the pictures are gorgeous.
And we have the illustrator here. Victor, how did you end up becoming the illustrator?
I feel like it was a natural thing. I would doodle a lot, and a lot of the times it'd be pictures of just me and Kyle, palling around. And it would always just be line drawings, very simple, and then I dabbled into digital art, and then Jennifer saw a couple of my works, and then the rest is history.
So you had already started writing the book?
Well, no, Victor is being very modest because, it's always hard to talk about yourself, and I think that, Victor's so humble and he's so talented, and he just has this artistic flair, this knack for drawing, and we did happen to notice that he would draw Kyle as an able-bodied boy. Again, it was kind of like that persona and that feeling like, yeah, we believe that Kyle can play, he can run, he can do things like any other child can. And so, as they say, it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a community to raise a special needs child, and we all came together and said, what if we were able to, build a character and create a book series together, and it became just such a natural fit that Victor had such a close relationship with Kyle. He has such a vivid imagination. He's actually a self-published author himself, and in addition to being a caretaker, so he's just to us he's just like the pure Renaissance man. And you can see the amazing work that he has been able to do in the past couple of books. It's really,
a lot of it has to do.
it's for being self-taught.
It's totally a labor of love. If you love what you're doing, it comes naturally, and you want it to do good. You want it to look nice because it's all for Kyle ultimately.
Well, I'm really struck, and I think we both are, by when you guys came in. You brought your own love with you. You're happy people,
and a lot of stuff.
But you guys were like so positive coming in, and clearly you take that with you everywhere. We saw, and Samantha, if you can put the picture back up, that you've been able to run into a lot of celebrities who took great pictures holding the books there. You've had so much support for this, but I think part and parcel, it's that, first of all, you guys are wonderful people wearing your hearts on your sleeve, but this is an amazing inspirational story for people that you could have looked at this in an entirely different way, right? This could have been the big boo-hoo.
How do you keep it from being that way?
And certainly there are hard times, and that's when people who have autistic children, for example, it's not easy. It really is rough. Sometimes there are days where you just don't know if you're going to be able to make it through, but that's where we are able to support each other, give each other hugs, tell each other that we're there for them, and ultimately you're able to see the bright side. I have this phrase that I tend to tell myself, you have a choice. If you're faced with certain calamities or certain, difficult situations, it can make you better or it can make you bitter. And I choose to make things better. And it's really, you really have to kind of stop yourself and think about how are you going to react to this situation. And we always try to choose the most positive, constructive way of doing things.
Now, is your husband as positive as you are?
We tend to play good cop, bad cop sometimes, I will say. But he...
Oh, they're both lovely.
He definitely, he's a big advocate of Kyle. He is definitely somebody who, would do anything for people who need it, and he definitely has a big heart. Absolutely.
Are you going to keep writing more books in the series? What's the progression?
Yes. Well, the first book came out. We published that one last year, and we introduced it on Kyle's 10th birthday. That was the first book. And then the second book, which is called A Spectrum of Love, and it is about autism, was released this April in time for Autism Awareness Appreciation
What made
Month.
you decide to make it about autism?
Right.
Because we should be clear that Kyle doesn't have autism.
Kyle doesn't have autism, and I will be clear that I am not an autism expert, but what I am is perhaps a listener, and I want, again, to be able to tell other people's stories through this book series. And so with respect to talking about autism, I have seen how it has affected so many of my families' lives, my friends' lives who have children with Asperger's or very severe cases of autism. And understanding that it is such a wide range, and that's kind of what the book touches on, is that no two children with autism are alike at all. They have different talents, they have different ways of communicating, they have different ways of showing signs of love and becoming friends. And so I really wanted to research the extent of autism. I talked to a lot of different families and autism moms, God bless them, who were able to tell us what it's like to raise their children, some of the hard things, some of the mannerisms, so that we could capture that and do it justice, frankly, since, again, Kyle doesn't have autism, I'm no expert, but I really wanted to be able to make sure that people who were faced with autism could see a little bit of maybe their family or their case, in the book. And so I'm really happy that so far the reaction has been so positive.
Well, of course. I mean, what a wonderful story. And, I think sometimes that people that aren't autism moms feel like they have to apologize for that. And I, for one, want to say, don't ever. Like, the fact that people outside of the autism community want to talk about autism is a plus for all of us. And you're a part of our tribe, being a special needs mom. So, who better than you, and who better than Kyle? I hope that Kyle has some friends that are on the autism spectrum at some point in his life, if he doesn't already.
He sure does.
And so I think it's wonderful. Who better than you to write this book, right? And who better than you to draw it?
Go on.
We should say that I want to hold the books up.
Of course.
There's a lot of green in the covers, and so that because we shoot on a green screen, that's going to come up black.
Oh, look at that.
But or invisible. Isn't that fun? I always love it when we. It's a fun thing to see that it cuts out part of it. But so The Adventures of Super Captain Brave Man, and here is this one.
This
What's the
one
title
is
there, Nancy?
Super Captain Brave Man, A Spectrum of Love. is the second
Absolutely
one.
love it. So where can we get the books?
Sure. You can buy them on our website, which is supercaptainbraveman.com, aptly named. We're also on Amazon as well as iBooks and Kobo. There are certain independent bookstores in the area. We're very indie focused that also carry the book. And we're also on social media if you want to hear and follow and learn a little bit about us and kind of see our day-to-day.
And I see you got a t-shirt here too, right?
Yes, we do. We actually also carry these fun
Kyle,
t-shirts
you look great on this t-shirt.
in small sizes, and we also have big kid
that.
sizes, big adult
Cute.
sizes,
I love that.
as well.
And I
Yes.
noticed you have a foreword by Rosie King, who is an autism awareness activist and a TED Talk speaker.
That's right. I was interested in Rosie after seeing her TED Talk. And Rosie self-diagnosed herself at the age of 9 with Asperger's. She lives in England. She's actually in college now. And I reached out to her and I told her that I was writing this book, and she was delighted to be part of it, which was amazing. And it's interesting because her TED Talk is about feeling like autism contributes to her uniqueness. She feels that it really makes her who she is. And it's controversial because not everybody feels that way. Some people do feel like, they want to try to get rid of autism for good, abolish it, and that's understandable given certain situations and conditions. She actually has 2 siblings which are also on the spectrum. So, she definitely has within her family a wide range of abilities and
The spectrum.
way that, yes, it is,
Really?
it's truly the spectrum. And so, I appreciate the fact that she has been able to advocate and remain positive about autism, so I thought that she'd be perfect to be part of our book.
Perfect
Love
to
that.
do the introduction
Can we
for
show
it.
that picture too? Did you do that picture? Is that your drawing
one?
that's there on that page? Is that your work as well?
Oh no.
This one's not.
Yeah.
This one's actually, we thought that this was interesting because, with the puzzle piece, which represents autism, and then also thinking about the spectrum,
With
the
the rainbow.
rainbow.
So have them hold it up? Is that what you're telling me, Samantha? Okay.
Right, and so we wanted to bring together
There we go.
the collaboration of the idea of a rainbow, which is the spectrum of children who are on the autism spectrum, if you will, and the puzzle pieces, and then also the star, which represents, the superhero. So this is a bit of symbolism, if you will, and the book does go into a lot of color theory. So, we talk about the blue child, the purple child, the yellow child, and what they bring to the table. So.
Yeah, take a peek. Let's see. Where's that one?
Yeah.
Show us some of your
Don't show the
drawings,
green
Victor.
child because then the green.
Oh, you're right.
I
didn't think about that.
The green won't show.
Let's go
But
to the
we'll
rainbow.
go. Yeah, we'll go.
There you
so,
are.
Yep,
There's
there's
that one shows up.
yeah, so
he's
this is
getting
when
ready to make
Kyle
his
sleeps and then he
transformation.
turns into Super Captain Brave Man and he goes over this beautiful rainbow of children who are on the spectrum, literally and figuratively.
I love that.
And so Nicholas,
picture
who
to
is
show. Look at how
the
gorgeous
child
your
with
drawings are.
autism,
Thank you.
who is a red child, wants to show his parents, his family, how he can express his love. And so Super Captain Brave Man collects some children off of the different colors of the rainbow to tell certain stories and to show how they show love for their families. And the purple child has a beautiful poem that she recites. The blue child is very scientific. He's a little bit of a techno geek, which we love. The green child, who will skip, is into flowers and gardening. The yellow child is into music. Yeah, and then the orange child is into art. So essentially like that.
Really remarkable. We've been saying on the show for a long time, years ago they realized that we aren't just talking about autism, we're talking about autisms with an S on the end. And I've been saying forever that I can't wait for the day that we can, instead of, just because autism has so much attached to it now, that instead we can say, the child has red 34. And then we know that it's this, or they have blue 22.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And I
We
always
can
put a
start
color to
something
it. So
here.
we've got a mind
We
meld
do,
going.
like
We
mine.
absolutely
Right?
do.
And just let because autism covers so much.
Yes.
And
Such a range.
and
And
so
you
what
show
it-
that here.
And what it can mean to one person is vastly different what it can mean to another person. So
Multifaceted.
Yes.
and yet there are gifts in each little pocket that are there to be
Absolutely.
looked for and found. And to assign it colors in the rainbow, I really like that. That's very intuitive.
Now you're on social media. Where can people find you on
That's
social
right.
media?
We have an Instagram page, Super Captain Brave Man. We're also on Facebook, Super Captain Brave Man. Twitter. We had to condense that name. So if you type it in Super Captain Brave Man, you'll probably find us.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
And what about buying these books? How can people buy them?
Yeah, we are actually running a special promotion for Autism Live. We have 50% off on supercaptainbraveman.com if you want to buy anything. We'll give you 50% off if you use the promo code Autism Live.
Oh, great.
So you can
Thank
buy
you.
there. That's
What a
Okay,
deal,
good.
you guys.
I
You
know.
need to hop on that and
Yeah.
do that.
because Christmas
Make
is
great
coming,
gifts.
holidays
It's
are
right around
coming.
the corner.
What a great gift.
wonderful gift.
There's this new movement to make sure that you give each child a book for the holidays, whatever holiday.
This would be a
you-
great
so
book,
what a
especially
great,
if you have a
great
child
book.
on the spectrum.
Yes.
Or even
Yes.
if you have a neurotypical child that you'd like to teach about differences.
Oh,
appreciating
especially if you have a
differences.
neurotypical child, so that they're learning how to be inclusive with everyone.
Totally.
Exactly. We
Essentially.
hope that, eventually it's our goal to have a Super Captain Brave Man book in every home. And we would love for this to be the start of it. So.
And let's start with every library. Every
And every
library has to have
School,
one of these.
classrooms.
Schools,
Exactly,
teachers
right? Every
have
single
definitely responded so well
yes.
to these books.
Oh, I'll bet. I'll bet. So what's the next one going to be?
We are thinking about that, and we are looking for some input from viewers, from friends, from family about what we should put into the next one as a subject.
But there's definitely going to be a
So-
next one. It's definitely going to be a series.
Absolutely. We're going to release it next year, and so we are, we're like sponges. We
Right.
definitely want to hear from other people about what the next book should be.
Well,
Yeah.
can I tell you that the thing that's been coming up here a lot lately is Tourette's.
Interesting.
And how misunderstood Tourette's is.
Okay.
and how much love we need to spread on Tourette's. That's just been coming up a lot, so I'm just going to throw that out there.
Okay, that's a great idea.
Tourette's has been a big deal. And oddly enough, sometimes Tourette's goes hand in hand with autism, but sometimes not. And we have a lot of viewers who watch the show who have Tourette's, are not on the spectrum, but who watch the show because they have a lot of friends that are on the autism spectrum, and so they watch the show, and they've been writing in and saying, we need more about Tourette's. So I'm going to tell you that. I'm going to pass it on.
Yeah.
So kind of an interesting thing, very misunderstood Tourette's.
Okay, yes,
So,
I'm eager to learn more about it now, so
Well,
you got me.
Loki has been so well behaved over there.
It's like we didn't even have a puppy in here. How old is Mochi?
Mochi's a rescue dog. Yeah, Mochi is 8 years old now, so she's a little lady. And she's a really good dog, I have to say. Everybody who comes over to the house wants to take her home with them, so
I'm
pack her in a suitcase and just take
And
her
she
away.
makes appearances in the books as well.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, she's
in
in
the
those
book,
books.
too.
Oh, Mochi, now I gotta look and see. Okay, you find a picture of Mochi in there.
Let's see.
We love how you drew Kyle, so I can't wait to see.
Let's see.
Now, does Kyle have any siblings?
Kyle has a half-sister named Honor who's 20 years old.
Okay.
She's in college now. She is an amazing, strong girl as well. And that's another thing I wanted to bring up because it's green.
Oh, you're right.
But that one's okay.
That one's okay, yeah.
It's okay to
there's
show the
Mochi.
green. It's just
Turn
fun
it
to
around.
see the invisibleness.
Okay.
There you are,
There's
Mochi.
Oh, that is funny. Look
And
at that.
there is Kyle's other nurse, Bridget.
Fabulous.
Yeah, we like to be inclusive of the people who are in Kyle's life. But what I wanted to mention is that for families who may have a neurotypical child in the family and then one that is not, God bless them. Like the children who are neurotypical, I actually was also watching a different TED Talk called Glass Children, because they feel invisible. They feel that all of the attention is going on to the special needs child, and they're told, okay, now be a good person, don't get mommy and daddy upset, you have to do what you're told, you've got to help. And so they essentially do that, but inside, it's very hard for them
They
because
need
here they
attention
are, they
too.
need attention too,
Right.
they need love, and they feel a little bit left out. So, I wanted to kind of, extend a little head nod, and I do in the second book, to the sibling.
Growing
who
up with
is
special
being-
needs siblings.
Yes,
It
yes.
can be different.
Who's
I grew
showing
up with a
love.
special needs sibling, and I understand that.
Yeah.
Have shared that with a lot of other, people that have grown up with special needs siblings. You do sometimes feel left out, or you feel overly responsible for that child.
Yeah, you
Yes.
feel like you have to be the adult already
Right.
when you might be just young.
I think it creates some of the most incredible people on the face of the planet.
Oh, definitely.
But we need to make sure that they get their needs met while
Yeah.
they're
They
becoming
get
And while they're
incredible.
growing up, exactly, and meet
Yeah,
those
that they get recognized and appreciated for
validated
everything.
for their accomplishments as
For
well.
sure, for sure.
And so I'm curious as to, now you've got the books out and you've met those famous people. Has that opened any doors for Kyle to do? Most kids don't get to come and be on a show.
No.
That's
Is that a
true.
cool thing? But has he gotten to do some cool things
At
because
11,
of this?
how Hollywood.
Yeah, I mean, we are fortunate to live in Los Angeles, right? Where celebrities are around, and so we are blessed with coming into contact with people that do have a platform where they can also share news of the book. We were pleased that Sam Jackson actually did an Instagram post on the book.
Yeah.
Cher tweeted about
Cher
it.
tweeted. She was our first.
Yeah, she was our first
awesome.
tweet.
Fantastic.
And so yes, we're finding that they have such benevolent spirits and want to use their fame for good as well, and to be associated with this, which is different, and it's definitely something that I think that once they hear what the book series is about, then they want to kind of lend a hand and help us out as well.
That's nice to hear.
Very cool.
Very inspirational. Well,
Kyle,
you all are a
love
very
your
inspirational
stories.
group.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
we really appreciate having you on the show today.
We're
love
appreciative
being
of
here.
you and the
Good
work
luck
that
to
you've
Super
done
Captain
for so
Brave
many
Man.
years.
Remarkable. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So tell us where we can get the book one more time.
Go visit www.supercaptainbraveman.com or Amazon or iBooks.
All right.
Okay.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
with us.